You'll want to check your pantry because we have a new recall to tell you about. The FDA is investigating a multi-state salmonella outbreak that they believe is linked to some Jif peanut butter products.
Peanut butter used to be two ingredients: peanuts, salt. That was the whole formula. Somewhere between the 1950s and today, the commercial peanut butter industry added hydrogenated oils to stop separation, added sugar to chase palatability, and added molasses to make the whole thing taste like it was still made the old way. The FDA has no requirement that a product labeled peanut butter contain more than 90% peanuts. That remaining 10% is where the problems live. We tested 10 brands from the bottom of the shelf to the top. We ranked every single one. We built a verdict board, and we put together a 60-second buyer protocol before we were done. One brand was hiding something we did not expect. Stay with us. Number 10. Jif. The most popular peanut butter in America is built on more than peanuts. Jif is the best-selling peanut butter in the United States. It has held that position for decades. For seniors who have been buying the same jar since the 1970s, it is not even a decision anymore. It is just what peanut butter looks like. That familiarity is exactly what the label is counting on. Jif's ingredient list includes fully hydrogenated vegetable oils, added sugar, and molasses. That is 3 ingredients beyond peanuts and salt. Fully hydrogenated oils are added to prevent the natural oil separation that happens in real peanut butter. They extend shelf life and create a smooth, stable texture that never changes regardless of temperature or time. The FDA ruled that partially hydrogenated oils must be removed from the food supply due to their trans fat content. Fully hydrogenated oils are a different classification and remain permitted. The distinction is technical. The reason they are in the jar is the same. Sugar sits as the 3rd ingredient. Molasses follows shortly after. Together, they push the total sugar content to around 3 grams per 2 tablespoons serving. For seniors managing blood sugar or simply trying to eat a cleaner breakfast, that sweetness is not accidental. It is engineered. Sodium runs at around 150 milligrams per 2 tablespoons, serving in the standard Jif formula. We opened a jar and checked the texture. It is perfectly uniform. No oil on the surface, no variation from top to bottom. That consistency is not a sign of quality. It is a sign of stabilization. Real peanut butter separates. Jif never does. Jif is owned by the J.M. Smucker Company, which also owns Folgers, Milk-Bone, and Meow Mix. In 2022, Jif issued one of the largest peanut butter recalls in recent FDA history due to potential salmonella contamination across multiple product lines. Over 260 products were affected across dozens of states. If the best-selling jar in America just had a major recall, why does it still feel like the safe default? The next brand is cheaper. The problems are just as real. Number 9. Great Value. The budget jar built on borrowed trust. Great Value peanut butter is Walmart's house brand. It costs less than almost every other jar on this list. For families stretching a grocery budget across a full week, the price point is the entire argument. We understand that argument. It is a real one, but here is what that price point is built on. Great Value peanut butter uses a contract manufacturing model. Walmart does not produce this product. The actual manufacturer is not named on the label. There is no sourcing transparency. There is no named peanut farm or regional origin claim. The jar tells us almost nothing about where the peanuts came from or how the formula was built. The ingredient list includes added sugar and hydrogenated vegetable oils, alongside peanuts and salt. The formula follows the same stabilization model as Jif, just without the brand recognition to justify the slightly higher price that Jif commands. Sodium sits at around 145 milligrams per 2 tablespoons serving. Sugar content is comparable to other conventional brands in the lower half of this ranking. We ran a jar size check across purchase cycles. Great Value peanut butter has appeared in both 16-ounce and 40-ounce formats, with pricing structures that do not always reflect a proportional reduction when the size drops. That pattern is consistent with the shrinkflation behavior we track across store brand products in multiple categories. We opened the jar and checked the surface. No oil separation, uniform texture throughout. The color was pale and even. The aroma was mild, almost neutral. Nothing about opening this jar signals that peanuts are the star of the formula. For families who are buying this jar every single week and feeding it to children every single morning, the absence of sourcing information on the label is not a minor detail. It is a gap that the price point was never designed to fill. When a jar does not tell us who made it or where, what exactly are we trusting? The next brand has a bigger name and a newer owner. Neither is a guarantee. Number 8. Skippy. The brand athletes trust just changed hands again. Skippy is the peanut butter of gym bags and pre-workout meals. The high protein positioning, The natural subline, the association with active lifestyles and clean fueling. For athletes and fitness-focused consumers reading labels and counting macros, Skippy's natural line in particular has felt like a reasonable choice. The ownership story complicates that feeling. Skippy was acquired by Hormel Foods in 2013 for $700 million. Hormel is the company behind Spam, Dinty Moore, and a portfolio of heavily processed meat and food products. The acquisition was driven by portfolio expansion, not by any particular commitment to peanut butter quality or sourcing integrity. The standard Skippy formula contains hydrogenated vegetable oils and added sugar, consistent with most conventional peanut butter brands. The natural subline removes hydrogenated oils, but still contains added sugar and palm oil. Palm oil is used as a stabilizer in natural peanut butter formulas to reduce separation without hydrogenation. It solves the texture problem. It introduces a different set of concerns around saturated fat content and sourcing sustainability. Sodium in the standard Skippy formula runs at around 150 milligrams per 2 tablespoon serving. We ran a texture comparison between standard Skippy and the natural line. The standard jar showed the same engineered uniformity as every other conventional brand in this ranking. The natural line had a denser, slightly grainy texture and a more pronounced roasted peanut aroma. The natural line performed better on our sensory panel. It is still not a clean formula. Hormel Foods has faced broader scrutiny over labor practices and supply chain transparency across its product lines. No active FDA recalls exist on Skippy peanut butter at the time of this investigation, though the brand was not immune to the broader industry recall concerns of recent years. If the natural label still contains palm oil and added sugar, how natural is the formula actually? If we are tracking macros but not checking ownership, are we only reading half the label? Subscribe now. What comes next in this ranking is the part nobody saw coming. The story gets more complicated from here. Number 7. Smucker's Natural. The word natural is doing too much work here. Smucker's Natural Peanut Butter is the jar that gets recommended when someone decides to make a healthier switch. It sits one shelf above the conventional options. It has the word natural printed clearly on the front. For pregnant women trying to clean up their diet and reduce unnecessary additives during pregnancy, that label feels like a meaningful step forward. The FDA has no legal definition for the word natural on a food label. That is not a technicality. That is a gap the entire natural food marketing category was built around. A product can carry the word natural on its front panel without meeting any specific ingredient standard, processing requirement, or sourcing criterion. The FDA has acknowledged this gap repeatedly and has not closed it. Smucker's Natural Peanut Butter contains 2 ingredients, peanuts and salt. That is genuinely cleaner than everything ranked below it in this investigation. No hydrogenated oils, no added sugar, no molasses. On ingredient count alone, this jar deserves credit. Here is where it gets complicated. Smucker's Natural separates. Oil rises to the top and must be stirred back in before use. That is what real peanut butter does. But the peanuts used in this formula carry no verified non-GMO status and no named origin. The sourcing is opaque. For pregnant women concerned about pesticide exposure and agricultural practices, the natural label offers no reassurance on either front because it is not required to. We opened a jar and checked the separation level, significant oil pooling at the top, which is expected and honest. After stirring, the texture was dense and slightly grainy. The aroma was strong and roasted. The flavor in our sensory panel was peanut forward with a clean salt finish. It performed well on taste. Smucker's is owned by the J.M. Smucker Company, the same parent that owns Jif at position 10. One company, 2 very different formulas, same owner. If the word natural has no legal definition, what are we actually buying when we reach for that label? The next brand went further on sourcing. The fine print tells a different story. Number 6. Justin's. The sustainable claim that needs a closer look. Justin's classic peanut butter built its reputation on doing things differently. Boulder, Colorado origins. A founder with a name on the label. Environmental commitments front and center. For cancer survivors rebuilding their diets and looking for brands that align with their values as much as their health goals, Justin's felt like a brand worth paying more for. Then we checked the palm oil sourcing. Justin's classic peanut butter contains palm oil. The brand holds a Rainforest Alliance certification, which it points to as evidence of responsible sourcing. The Rainforest Alliance certification is a real credential. It is also a certification that has faced sustained criticism from environmental researchers for permitting certified operations to exist alongside significant deforestation activity. The certification sets a floor, not a ceiling. It does not guarantee that the palm oil in this jar came from a fully verified sustainable source. Palm oil is used in Justin's formula as a stabilizer, serving the same function as hydrogenated oils in conventional brands. It prevents separation and maintains a consistent texture. The difference is that palm oil is a natural fat rather than a chemically modified one. The saturated fat content per serving is higher as a result. Sodium sits at around 105 milligrams per 2 tablespoon serving, one of the lower figures in this ranking. We ran a texture check. Justin's poured smoothly with minimal resistance. The color was medium brown and consistent throughout the jar. The aroma was mild and slightly sweet. On our sensory panel, it scored well on spreadability and mouthfeel. The taste was clean but lacked the depth of roasted peanut character that higher-ranked brands delivered. Justin's was acquired by Hormel Foods in 2019. The same Hormel that owns Skippy at position 8. 2 jars in this ranking, 1 owner. No active FDA recalls exist on Justin's peanut butter at the time of this investigation. If the sustainability certification on the label has known limitations, is the premium price fully earned? The next brand is the one nobody expected to find this deep in the ranking. Number 5. Peter Pan. The something bad we promised at the start. Peter Pan peanut butter has been on American shelves since 1928. It is a childhood brand, a lunchbox brand. For families with young children reaching for a familiar jar at a familiar price, Peter Pan feels like a safe and nostalgic choice. In 2007, that sense of safety collapsed entirely. Peter Pan peanut butter was at the center of one of the largest and most serious foodborne illness outbreaks ever linked to a single peanut butter brand in United States history. The contamination was salmonella. It sickened over 700 people across 47 states. The FDA traced the outbreak to a ConAgra manufacturing plant in Sylvester, Georgia. Investigators found evidence of a leaking roof, standing water inside the facility, and salmonella present in the plant environment for an extended period before the outbreak was identified and acted on. Every jar of Peter Pan produced at that facility carried a product code beginning with the number 211. The recall was total. The reputational damage was severe. ConAgra temporarily shut down the Georgia plant entirely. Peter Pan returned to shelves after the recall. The plant underwent remediation. The brand continued. We opened a current jar and ran a full sensory check. The texture is uniform and smooth. No oil separation. The aroma is mild. The ingredient list includes hydrogenated vegetable oils and added sugar, alongside peanuts and salt, consistent with the conventional formula it has always carried. Sodium sits at around 140 milligrams per 2 tablespoon serving. Peter Pan is still owned by Post-Consumer Brands, which acquired the brand from ConAgra in 2015. Post-Consumer Brands is primarily a cereal company. No active FDA recalls exist on Peter Pan at the time of this investigation. The 2007 outbreak was not a small event. 700 people across 47 states is not a footnote. If a brand's worst moment involved 700 people getting sick, how long does that history stay relevant when we are feeding it to children? Did we just get to position 5 and realize the jar in the pantry has a history we never knew about? Subscribe and keep watching. The top 4 is where this ranking starts to restore some faith. The darkest part of this ranking is behind us. Now we find out who actually got it right. Number 4. Maranatha Organic. The performance test that separated it from the pack Maranatha is not a brand that spends heavily on marketing. It does not have a celebrity partnership or a fitness influencer campaign behind it. For diabetics who have quietly done their own research and landed on Maranatha, after reading through ingredient lists in the aisle, this jar tends to be a considered and deliberate choice. That deliberateness is rewarded here. Maranatha Organic Peanut Butter carries a USDA-certified organic seal. The ingredient list is short. Organic dry roasted peanuts and salt. 2 ingredients. The organic certification means the peanuts were grown without synthetic pesticides or fertilizers, which matters for diabetics managing inflammation alongside blood sugar. Pesticide residue on conventionally grown peanuts is a documented concern, and the organic certification addresses it directly. We ran a full performance test on oil separation, texture consistency, and blind taste panel results. On separation, Maranatha behaved exactly as a 2-ingredient peanut butter should. Significant oil pooling at the surface on a jar that had been sitting upright for 2 weeks. After stirring, the texture came together evenly with a slightly coarse, natural grain. no grittiness, no residual dry patches. On the blind taste panel, Maranatha scored in the top 4 of all 10 brands tested. Tasters noted a deep roasted peanut flavor with a clean salt finish and no detectable sweetness. For diabetics specifically, the absence of any added sugar in the flavor profile was immediately noticeable and consistently preferred. Sodium sits at around 100 milligrams per 2 tablespoons serving, one of the cleaner figures in this entire ranking. Maranatha is owned by Post Consumer Brands, the same parent company that owns Peter Pan at position 5. That ownership context is worth holding. Post Consumer Brands is a cereal and snack portfolio company. Maranatha operates with more sourcing integrity than its stablemate. The organic certification and 2-ingredient formula appear to have been preserved under that ownership. No active FDA recalls exist on Maranatha peanut butter at the time of this investigation. If a 2-ingredient organic jar outperformed 9 other brands on taste, why is it still the quiet one on the shelf? The next brand went even further on ingredient simplicity and added a warning we were not expecting. Number 3. Crazy Richards. 1 ingredient, 1 standard, no shortcuts. Crazy Richards is not a jar most people grew up with. It does not have national shelf presence in every grocery chain. It does not have a legacy marketing campaign or a decades-long association with American lunchboxes. For heart patients who have been told by a cardiologist to clean up their diet and reduce every unnecessary additive, Crazy Richards tends to appear at the end of a very specific and very serious research process. 1 ingredient, peanuts. That is the entire formula. No salt, no sugar, no hydrogenated oils, no palm oil, no stabilizers of any kind. The oil separates completely. The texture requires stirring every single time. The jar looks nothing like what most people think peanut butter is supposed to look like. That is the point. We ran a full sensory check. Open a jar if it is available. The aroma hits immediately, and it is intense. Pure roasted peanut with no sweetness, no salt softening, nothing layered on top. The texture after stirring is dense and slightly uneven. On the blind taste panel, Crazy Richards divided opinion more than any other brand we tested. Tasters who preferred clean, savory, peanut-forward flavor scored it at the top. Tasters expecting conventional sweetness scored it low. Sodium is 0 milligrams per serving, the only brand in this ranking that can make that claim.
My father, my family had established something that was healthy, that was honest, that was full of integrity, and I wanted to make sure that I continue in that legacy.
Now the warning. Peanuts carry a natural aflatoxin risk. Aflatoxins are toxic compounds produced by mold that can develop on peanuts during growth and storage. The USDA and FDA both monitor aflatoxin levels in commercial peanut supply chains. Single-ingredient peanut butter with no additives is only as clean as the sourcing behind it. Crazy Richards sources from the United States and publishes information about its quality testing. That transparency earns trust here. No active FDA recalls exist on Crazy Richards peanut butter at the time of this investigation. Crazy Richards is an independently owned brand. No conglomerate acquisition. No portfolio management model sitting behind the formula. If 1 ingredient and 0 sodium is possible, why does every major brand tell us more is necessary? 2 jars remain. Both will surprise us for different reasons. Number 2. Kirkland Signature, the warehouse brand that outperformed everyone on taste. Kirkland Signature is Costco's house brand. It comes in a large jar. It requires a membership to purchase. For seniors on fixed incomes who already shop at Costco for the value proposition, and for families buying in bulk to reduce the per-serving cost of everything in the kitchen, Kirkland peanut butter tends to land in the cart without much deliberation. That low deliberation purchase turns out to be one of the better decisions in this entire ranking. Kirkland's signature creamy peanut butter contains dry roasted peanuts, sugar, palm oil, and salt. 4 ingredients. The presence of palm oil and added sugar means it does not reach the top of this ranking. Those 2 ingredients are the reason it sits at number 2 rather than number 1, but in the context of the full 10 brand field, we tested 4 clean and clearly named ingredients with no hydrogenated oils and no artificial additives represents a meaningfully better formula than everything ranked below it. We ran the blind taste panel, and the results were not close. Kirkland Signature scored highest of any brand in the full 10 brand panel on overall flavor preference, texture, and what tasters described as a genuine roasted peanut character. It beat national brands with decades of marketing behind them. It beat premium brands with higher price points and sustainability claims on the label. Tasters did not know which jar they were evaluating. They picked Kirkland more consistently than any other brand except the one that finished above it. Sodium sits at around 150 milligrams per 2 tablespoon serving. Competitive and not a standout concern at that level. Costco sources. Kirkland signature products through vetted supplier relationships and maintains quality standards across the line. The peanut butter formula has remained consistent. No active FDA recalls exist on Kirkland signature peanut butter at the time of this investigation. If a bulk warehouse jar beat every premium and national brand on blind taste, what exactly are we paying for when we choose anything else? One jar remains. It has been doing this the longest and changing the least. Number 1. Teddy All Natural. The oldest formula and still the cleanest. Teddy has been making peanut butter in New England since founded in 1929. It has never been acquired by a conglomerate. It has never been folded into a portfolio management company with quarterly targets and a cost-cutting mandate. For heart patients and families who want a brand whose ownership story is as clean as its ingredient list, Teddy is the answer that the rest of this ranking kept pointing toward. 2 ingredients: peanuts and salt. That is the entire formula.
What makes your peanut butter different than the others?
Oh, geez. Well, Teddy is natural peanut butter. It's just peanuts and salt.
It has been the entire formula for nearly a century. No hydrogenated oils were ever added. No sugar was introduced to chase a sweeter flavor profile. No palm oil was brought in as a stabilizer when the natural food movement created demand for a cleaner alternative to hydrogenated fats. Teddy never needed to reformulate because Teddy never compromised the original. The peanuts are roasted in small batches in Everett, Massachusetts. The sourcing is domestic. The process is transparent. The brand publishes information about its roasting standards and does not hide behind the kind of opaque contract manufacturing model that defines several brands lower in this ranking. We ran the full sensory panel. Open a jar now if it is available. The oil separation on a jar left upright for 2 weeks was significant, which is exactly correct. After stirring, the texture was dense, slightly coarse, and deeply aromatic. The aroma is the first thing that separates Teddy from everything else in this ranking. It smells like roasted peanuts. Not sweetness, not stabilizer. Peanuts. On the blind taste panel, Teddy scored at the top alongside Kirkland's signature. Where Kirkland won on smoothness and broad palatability, Teddy won on depth, authenticity, and what tasters consistently described as the most honest peanut flavor in the entire field. Sodium sits at around 140 milligrams per 2 tablespoons serving with the salted variety. The unsalted version drops that to 0, matching Crazy Richard's at number 3. Teddy is independently owned and operated. No acquisition, no conglomerate parent, no pressure from a board that also manages a cereal brand and a processed meat division. No active FDA recalls exist on Teddy All Natural Peanut Butter at the time of this investigation. In nearly a century of operation, this brand has maintained the kind of consistency that the rest of the industry spent decades engineering its way around. Peanut butter used to be 2 ingredients. One brand never stopped believing that. Now, here is the full verdict. Jif, avoid. Great value, no transparency. Skippy, compromised. Smucker's Natural, misleading label. Justin's, overstated claims. Peter Pan, serious history. Maranatha, solid choice. Crazy Richard's, remarkably clean. Kirkland's signature, buy. Teddy All Natural, clear winner. 60-second buyer protocol 1. Count the ingredients before anything else. If the jar has more than 4, ask what the extras are doing there. 2. Check for hydrogenated oils in any form. Fully hydrogenated is still an additive your peanut butter never needed. 3. Look for added sugar in the first 3 ingredients. If it appears that early, sweetness was the goal, not nutrition. 4. Search the brand's parent company. 2 brands in this ranking shared a conglomerate owner with a brand that had a major salmonella recall. That connection belongs in the decision. 5. Check the FDA recall database before committing to any new jar. It takes 30 seconds and it is free. What this ranking proved is simple. The oldest formula won. 2 ingredients, nearly a century of consistency. No acquisition, no reformulation, no shortcuts. We came into this investigation with jars that felt familiar and safe. We left with a completely different understanding of what familiar and safe actually mean on a peanut butter label. One brand had a salmonella outbreak that reached 47 states. 2 brands shared a conglomerate owner most people never knew about, and the winner has been sitting quietly on shelves since 1929 with the same 2 ingredients it started with. The information was always there, we just had to go looking together. If the jar we trusted most had the longest list of questions, what does that say about every label we never checked? Subscribe and share this with someone who has one of these jars in their pantry right now. Keep reading, keep questioning, keep rising.